So, our heroes. Last we left, they were down in the sewers. Because we always wind up in sewers eventually.
I don't remember why.
We're looking for this guy, Stanley.
They're looking for Stanley, who they
He
delivered the
stole-
box.
He stole our diplomatic thingy.
Yeah,
That was
several
that was
demerits.
given to us by an idiot.
A hopefully well-paying idiot.
No, not very.
They
That
talked
was the problem.
to his girlfriend, Miss
Yeah.
General Anderson,
Yeah.
and she said, if you promise not to hurt him, I'll tell you where he is because I'm really worried about him.
What is General Miss Anderson?
General Miss Anderson?
I think that makes more sense. I think I was insisting it was Miss General Anderson, but I think General Miss Anderson actually makes a lot more
I had it
sense.
written down as General Miss Anderson, so I think that was what it was. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
It's the way it is now.
I kept changing my mind. That's the problem.
It's always bad when the thing that defines reality keeps changing his mind. Anyway, so we're looking for Stanley. He's hiding in the sewer. So we went into the sewer.
Yeah, and they had a set of instructions from Miss General Anderson or General Miss Anderson or whatever her name was, and they're going down through the sewers, basically following these instructions. And they had earlier seen, like, someone spotted a goblin looking at them down the hallway and then ran away.
So we
they're
knew there
all
was
on
an
edge,
ambush, yeah.
ready for an ambush.
And we still flub our checks and get
Yeah.
ambushed.
Yeah, so they're coming to this place where 3 tunnels are converging, and then it goes over the lip into a big sort of
VAT type
thing, like a huge thing. And there's similar tunnels on the other side. And they walk out of the tunnel, and from the 2 side tunnels, they're ambushed by Goblen, who get a surprise round. They just totally surprise them. And in amongst the Goblen are these 2 Goblen, or at least they look like Goblen, but they move like Goblen. They're hunched over, and they move just like Goblen, not like Goblen at all.
Hobgoblins.
Yes, and there was, of course, those rumors that there were hobgoblins, evil oblins running around, possibly in the sewers. And so the assumption is these are said hobgoblins.
Yes.
So
battle was ensued.
So battle ensued, indeed. So, who was in front?
Hank and
Hank and Croesus were in front. So all these goblins, there's a huge number of them. They come swarming in and form this huge mass right in front.
Yeah, I think there were 15 goblin and 2 hobgoblin.
And they riddle Hank and Croesus with crossbow bolts. And then
almost all of them have a line of sight to shoot him. So
yeah. So then the party turn starts. Because that was basically their opening gambit, was swarm in, shoot.
yeah, the ones nearby did melee attacks, but it was really irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, they just did pain.
Yeah. So, first thing that happened was Cricket rearranged the battlefield.
You learn well.
I used the Shout of Triumph. And I didn't hit any of... I think... Did I hit one of the minions? Or one of the goblin?
I forget.
It was really, really super hard to hit them. They were massive. Oh man, these guys were tough. So hard to hit them. We're 7th level, and they had defenses like 36 and 38 and stuff like
Well,
that.
no, it was low 30s, but still.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
wow.
Because John made a mistake.
Well, it wasn't. I didn't make a mistake. The compendium made a mistake.
Oh yeah.
No, his mistake was assuming you were good at your job.
Yeah, a poor craftsman blames his tools.
The compendium had their stats 10 too high. I looked it up on the internet, and like, people are like, yeah, this was never really properly errated, but the unofficial errata is that their stats are 10 too high, and they totally were. They were exactly 10 too high. So, yeah, all their
The first round was really hard.
Yeah. Until John noticed that they were all 55.
And I gave them a pass because I forget I screwed something up in their favor too. I forget what it was, and I was like,
Difficult terrain. Everything's difficult terrain, but we were moving freely on the first round.
Yeah, when he did the Shout of Triumph, I didn't factor in the difficult terrain, and that made a huge difference to the battlefield. And I was like, well, we'll just call it even. Well, no. Their stats will go back down.
Yeah.
But the first round, all those misses were just unlucky, and we'll call it even.
And it was fine. I mean, the first round we weren't doing a lot of damage. We were just moving things around.
You were stumbling over the difficult terrain, would cause you to miss more.
You were still sort of surprised a bit.
So anyway, after I pulled everyone back. So if the goblin wanted to attack us, they now had to basically come at us, not quite single file, but they have to come around the corner.
Double file, basically.
Yeah. So they all swarmed in a big mass at the head of this corridor.
Yeah, because
They could still shoot at us.
Yeah, they could actually get almost all of them could still shoot at them. And so, yeah, they were all.
Which actually worked out to our benefit.
Yeah.
Because that meant we had line of sight on them. And
That's true, because you all had line of sight as opposed to just the front two guys
yeah.
having line of sight.
So really, it was good all around. So then serendipity won the battle.
As wizards are wont to do.
She used that spell that she used back when we were fighting the husks that creates an illusory treasure and causes everyone within like 5 squares, or was it 5 squares?
Something like that.
Some
It was big.
huge area to make. It's a will attack, and if they fail, they try and go for it. So like 3/4 of the goblin, she cast us in that big vat thing that's off to the back.
Yeah.
And so, like, 3/4 of the goblin and one of the there were 2 hobgoblin, and one of the hobgoblin all jumped in the vat, and we're trying to get to this treasure.
A few of them managed to fall over backwards, but like
Yes.
rolling their saves, and it's just like 6, 8, 4. Like they all fall
Yeah.
in the vat.
And those that don't are still prone by the edge of the vat. I tried a few knock them in type things. It didn't work very well, but yeah, most of them wound up in the vat. Then we started to hear a rumbling sound in the passage behind us.
Oh yeah, because in the first round, someone made a perception check, and one of the Goblen said, "We've started the attack," and then they hear down the hallway, "They've started the attack," and something's going on,
Yeah.
and then they start hearing a rumbling behind them. Actually, I think by the time all those guys fell in, it was the end of that round. That was when the rumbling was getting louder, and like the stuff they were walking through was just like mud, right? Like it was like poop mud, and the water started rising and flowing, and the poop mud started like oozing off the precipice into the vat.
So we decided to get out of this tunnel. We need to go around the corner. Fortunately, it's mostly clear now.
Yeah.
Because all the goblin jumped in the vat. So we go around the corner. And there's a bit of fighting that has to be done to do that. Cricket makes sure she's the last one round.
Actually, during that fighting, I think you guys killed all the remaining goblin except for one who ran away, and that hobgoblin who was alive.
Yeah, we chased the hobgoblin.
The hobgoblin bolted. He bolted down the hallway and shouted behind him, "Fight to the death!"
So
And at that point, within a few moments, there was only one goblin left, and that goblin just bolted too.
aside from the ones that were in the vat,
Yeah.
they were safe because we.
No, they were all like,
we weren't
trying to get the treasure.
Yeah. So we caught up with that hobgoblin, and I remember it was really, really super close that we managed to kill him. What was the final blow?
There were several blows, and finally he got away, and he was running away down the hallway, and then of course, and Tim was like, "Oh, I forgot because of such and such. I got an extra D6 of damage." So he rolls it. I'm like, "Okay, well." He and his 3 hit points get away, and then Tim, whatever, was like, "Wait a minute, I would have got another D6 on that other roll I already hit him with, right?" And I was like, "All right, fine." So he rolls it and does 4 damage. And I'm like, "All right, he's running away." Because he was already blinded this time. Ghost had blinded him, and he trips and falls and cracks his head open and dies. So he just died running away.
And then the enormous torrential pour of water comes rushing down the tunnel we were in.
But they were already in the side tunnel by then.
Yeah.
And so
it flows into the big
bursts
vat
out.
thing with all the goblin and hobgoblin in it.
And drowns them.
It doesn't drown them.
There's a sound they hear some sort of magical sound and some little magical glyphs lighting up. and then they hear the sound of something grinding.
Oh.
And then the water starts to churn in a big whirlpool. Yeah.
It's a goblin toilet. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Yep.
All the water starts churning and swirling down, and the goblin are all in this, and they're still trying to get that treasure. So they're like, and they all get flushed down through a hole in the center
into the rift.
Yeah, and once there's no water left anymore in that big vat area, the glyphs at the bottom light up, and the grinder closes, and now it's just empty. Because before it had been filled partly with water, right? And so the tube they'd come through and that vat are now, it's not exactly clean, but it's just sort of a scum now, right? Like it's been washed out.
You'd really think they should put a grate on one of those things, you know.
And those clog up. No one wants to come down here.
Yeah, that's just dangerous.
Yeah, you might get washed down one of those holes.
So anyway.
So what you're saying is, if you have something important you need to get rid of, flush it down the toilet.
And it'll fall into the rift.
Yeah.
Into the hands of the chaos beasts.
Yeah, because of course they're on Greybridge, so it just goes right down into the chaos.
So anyway, we carried on towards where Stanley was hiding out. And as we reached the area, the general area he's supposed to be in, we hear screaming, I think? Yeah.
Yeah, screaming, help, 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 ah!
So we rush ahead to go and save Stanley from whatever
He'd gotten himself into
this time. Everyone's incompetent in this world, including us and the people that hire us.
The wizards know what they're doing.
There's one common thread in this. You and your allies.
Yep.
Anyway.
So, we rush down this narrow corridor and see a room ahead, and Stanley's there, and he's being attacked by these, was it 6 of them, I think? 6 monsters that look like sort of weird mounds of yick with elephant trunks. And the moment that John said elephant trunks, we'd already been thinking it, but that confirmed it. Mucolytics. This is a long-running thing with John. Back in the first campaign that I was in that he ran, Chivalry and Sorcery, he had mucolytics in it, and they originally came from a fighting fantasy series.
They come from the fighting fantasy world, and I just really like them, so they live in the sewers.
Yep, so we fought mucolytics back in Chivalry and Sorcery, and now they're back in 4th edition, and they're as bad as ever. So we're all rushing up to save Stanley, and this mucolytic fountains vomit from its trunk all over Aurora. I'm within 2 squares of her. I'm totally Guardian's counter. Come on, Aurora, please. I want to take a vomit for you.
Let me save you from the film.
Yes, this. If nothing else, at least this. But no, she was steadfast. No, Cricket, you're not allowed to use your ability. Even though it makes sense. So
she got completely covered,
drenched in mucolytic
and like
vomit.
with high pressure, so it like goes into every orifice, and she.
I would have taken that for her, but no.
So she's slowed in dazed save ends because she's vomiting. She's actively puking and can't stop.
And then there's a secondary attack on anyone
who sees her, or anyone within 4 squares who sees her, will be nauseated, which just is dazed for one. No, it's just dazed save ends, I think. If you see someone get spewed, you're like.
So Cricket got that. She's like,
which is appropriate because she wanted to save her. I'll save you. No. But
it's the failure that's worst of all. Yeah. So
and that's where we ended.
Pretty much. Yep. Yep. With Aurora vomiting all over. Well, maybe Aurora will let me use Guardian's counter next time.
It actually could have disabled 4 people because it hit Croesus as well, but he succeeded. Like, it didn't affect him. And Hank also observed it, but that didn't affect him.
Which is quite appropriate in a lot of ways.
They also have a stench aura, and when you come within 3 squares, you get a -2 on attacks because they smell just unbelievably repulsive.
You hear that, kids?
Crap.